Hey everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the paying members at BillWhittle.com. And I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to look back at 2017, because this has been the year that wasn't even supposed to exist. This year wasn't supposed to happen. We were supposed to have President Hillary and doom and death and destruction and all the rest, and of course, it didn't happen. Bill, when we did this show 1 year ago, almost to the day, all three of us expressed all this relief that we weren't going to have Madam Hillary, whatever her name is. I can't remember anymore. Last I heard, she was editing Teen Vogue. I'm not kidding about that. Now that we've had a year of the thing that wasn't supposed to happen, what do you think about 2017, and what kind of hopes do you have going forward into this next year?
Well, first of all, I have more hopes that things like that aren't going to happen, that didn't happen, won't happen in the future.
I'm going to need a flow chart.
Hope we got all that straight. You know, when Obama was president, I talked a lot about, towards the later years anyway, about this idea of opportunity cost. The idea if you do one thing, it means you can't do something else. Yep. And not only had Obama done so much damage to the country, you also have to factor in what we could have done with 8 years of somebody fundamentally competent at the helm. Where would we be if we hadn't had him? This is a nice negative reflection on that, you know. So there's that. And for which I'm eternally grateful. Now, I have to tell you, with that said, looking at the astonishment and the relief that we felt a year ago, which was just a month after Donald Trump's election, month and a half, I found 2017 to be a fairly disappointing year. Gorsuch was a great start, an incredible great start. But, you know, we botched the Obamacare repeal, which I think you mentioned either in our backstage show or something, you know, that Donald Trump actually almost undermined the repeal of Obamacare to some degree. I saw the Republican Congress, which we'd been told since, you know, what, 2008, that if you just give us the House, well, we gave him the House in 2010, we gave him the Senate in 2014, gave him the presidency in 2016. I watched Republican congressmen just absolutely shamelessly just run from everything they ever promised that they would do, and in fact did do when they knew that it couldn't possibly become law. It was heartbreaking. It wasn't shocking, but it was heartbreaking. And then, as we talk about in my segment this week, we dragged a barely alive body across the finish line, but we did in fact get tax cuts. I think it was Roger Kimball that I saw on Instapundit today as we taped this, had basically laid out a list of the things that Donald Trump had accomplished in his first year in terms of economic things and so on. He said, in any other presidency, it would have been a miracle. You know, 35% increase in the value of the stock market. That's what, $2, $3, $4 trillion of wealth added. Unemployment at 4%. You know, 3% economic growth or higher. None of these things Obama achieved in 8 years. So the country did well. And I suspect that if this president had had not just better press, but even anything like, I was almost going to say fair press, but I would have just settled for non-psychotic press coverage. We'd be feeling considerably better about it than we do. My main disappointment this year was in the Republican Congress, which, as you said in one of our other segments that we shot this week, we should have been spending all of 2017 legislating as if there was no tomorrow, because there may not be. And hopefully we'll get a chance in 2018 to get as much of this stuff done as we can before the election. I'll just close by saying this. The economy was humming along, and a big improvement since Donald Trump was elected because of Donald Trump. And now with this tax cut, it's possible that 2018 is going to go into economic overdrive, and that may even be enough to overturn this psychotic display of liberal peevishness and childishness that we've seen all throughout this year.
Well, I wouldn't count on that last part. But, Bill, the rest of it you said, maybe think of something that I'm going to turn into a question for Scott. You know, the GOP Congress has really been a big disappointment with the exception of the tax bill. Maybe a couple other things have been maybe solid on deregulation. But the mood of the country has certainly changed, Scott. And I think there's a powerful lesson here that the answers we seek are not in Washington. They're not on Capitol Hill. They certainly aren't in the GOP majority, but they're out here in the rest of the country.
That's right, and I think there has been a sort of uptick in the feeling of hope that something was going to change in this country. Why do those two words sound different?
Well played, my friend.
Now than they did before. But you know, I've in the past I've made fun of the fact that the stock market can go down just because people are expecting the stock market to go down. Well, I think that there's really a tone being set from the top that we're expecting better days, that things are getting better and better. And there is an element in an economy of a self-fulfilling prophecy, is that the more people begin to expect better days, the more better days we begin to have, because people start changing their behavior in ways that are consistent with better days, if that makes any sense. And let me say, you know, this 2017 was sort of the year when I realized that if I ever had a political party, I don't have one now. It's for those of you who are upset with me because I've not been a cheerleader for President Trump, I'll tell you, I haven't been a cheerleader for the Republican Party either, or the Democratic Party.
You have been very good to President Trump when you thought he deserved it.
Well, absolutely. Scott's been fair all year long. Say what you will, but he has been a fair guy.
So let me point out a couple of things that we haven't really mentioned yet. In addition to Neil Gorsuch, we've got, at last I heard, 12 confirmed appeals court justices on the federal court level. Huge difference that makes, because those judges serve forever and they produce the bench for the Supreme Court. And so, you know, deepening that bench, and President Trump has managed to get those appointees through a far greater number than any of his predecessors did already. So that's fantastic. Even though the tax bill is a highly flawed venture and was passed with a mono majority, so to speak, it got through and stunned the left. They didn't think that they were going to be able to get that through. That's a great victory. I got to tell you, gents, two of my favorite things about the Trump administration so far have been women. Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievably competent handler of the media, really cool-headed, and I watched an interaction that she had with Jim Acosta from CNN the other day, where he was trying to do a follow-up on his follow-up of his follow-up question when he was supposed to have one question and then let other people have a chance to do it. And she, without getting not even slightly perturbed, she just basically said, "Jim, you're done. Barbara," and kind of like, and she is so confident and competent in what she does. The other one, and this is even bigger for me, UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Yep. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is my hero of the year politically, not only because she's willing to speak the truth to power in that that vermin's nest in New York City that we call the United Nations, but she is being honest. She is being forthright. She is actually doing what you need to do at a United Nations body. Your word needs to be reliable. And our allies and our enemies both know that when she speaks, she means it, and that she will follow up with that, and that the president has her back. So I once met Nikki Haley at a Red State gathering, I think in Atlanta, and I got to interview her for a couple of minutes on camera, just one-on-one. And I walked away from that and her speech there thinking, this woman could be president of the United States.
I think she's got a good shot.
And I think in many ways it's better that she starts here than leaping directly, because actually, we need governors like her too. But I like this step where she can get foreign policy experience on the world stage. She's the best thing that's happened to us internationally in a long, long time. Yeah,
I'd love to see her replace do-nothing Rex Tillerson at State. Just please.
I'm not completely drinking the Kool-Aid on Do Nothing Rex Tillerson. I have a feeling that guy knows how to manage still a large corporation, and even though everybody seems unhappy with him, those are positive signs for me too. I actually should have mentioned him as another positive there, but we'll see, because Steve, I really don't think we know what's really going on at state yet.
Yeah,
Do Nothing who?
Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody I should know.
John Kerry was on TV in his airplanes all the time, and that was bad. And Rex Tillerson is pretty much the invisible man, which is the other extreme, and also not to my taste. But listen, I came into 2017 just with this huge sigh of relief. I thought we dodged a huge bullet on Election Day. And now I don't believe, unlike our Democratic friends did back in 2008, before I think they got so disillusioned, that hope and change can be embodied in one person. That said, there has been it's not a sea change yet, but there is an undercurrent in this country of actual hope and actual change going on. I don't know how much we can deliver on this over the next year to 3 years, but I do know that I can see and feel this undercurrent swelling, and if it takes the country along with it, if it really does turn into a sea change, we are going to be in for just a great, amazing time. And I have to tell you, I haven't felt a hope like this since I was a 15-year-old boy pushing doorbells and stuffing envelopes for Ronald Reagan back during his re-election campaign in 1984. And it just to be able to feel like a optimistic 15-year-old kid again, that has been worth all of the cringing and nervousness you get whenever Trump hits Twitter. But I thank you for that, Mr. President. It's been a great ride. I can't wait to see what we see in the next couple of years in 2018. I'm looking forward, and it's a great feeling. And that's it for Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. So for Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, I'm Steve Green. We'll see you next time.